All right, I see the live button on our.
Yep, we're streaming live now.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to another episode of 1 Million Cups brought to you by the Kauffman Foundation. I want to bring your attention to the screen below. We would love everybody to log into the app. That is the only way that we get credit for you being here. The wonderful Kauffman Foundation has us check in for two reasons. One, so we can get credit for the individuals that are coming to our organization. And two, so you guys can connect with one another. When you log into the app and you put the proper information in that app, what you can do is you can connect with each other on Facebook, on LinkedIn, whatever information that you put in on that app. And it's a great way to stay in contact with one another, especially in this day and age. It's hard to do networking on live Zoom events like this. So put your information in and get in touch with each other through Facebook or LinkedIn. Next slide. 1 million cups. By show of hands, if you can go into your reactions and put a hand up, just let us know that you're new to 1 million cups. If you're new, thank you for coming. 1 million cups is a weekly mastermind group where we mastermind great ideas over a cup of coffee and conversations. We're in over 160 locations nationally where we basically do the same thing on the same bat channel in different locations. So thank you for being at this location. We're happy that you chose us as a way to share information and expertise. Oh, we got someone from Iowa. That is awesome. Well, that's Bruce. Hey, good morning. So there's a couple ways that you can get information from us. One, please sign up on our Facebook app. You can find us at 1millioncups.com/Fairfax on our website. On social media, look for the #1 MC Fairfax. Also, you'll see us on Facebook Live. In fact, we're on Facebook Live now, so everybody wave at the camera and let everybody know good morning and thank you for joining us. And you could also engage with us during this meeting on Facebook Live. So if you have any questions for those that are out in the Facebook Live community, please put them in the chat below. If you're on Zoom with us, we'll tell you real quick how to connect with us and how to give us information. Next slide. So, do we have Justin?
We're missing both our sponsors today.
So unfortunately, we don't have our sponsors on the call this morning, but you can see we have the wonderful Office Evolution where they have the most beautiful office space and they have virtual options. And our space sponsor is John Yu. He's not here this morning. And then the wonderful Paychecks. In fact, I'm going to let him in right now so he could talk about Paychecks. But we have Justin Wilson, who will be joining us in 30 seconds, telling us about Paychecks. Justin, are you there?
Hey, yeah, sorry. I'm here.
Perfect timing.
Is it my turn to go?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
oh, okay. Wow, that is perfect timing. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Wilson. I'm your local friendly neighborhood Paychecks rep. Paychecks is a nationally known company. We do HR, 401k, payroll, basically anything under the sun from hire to retire. So if you guys need any help with that or have any questions about stuff going on with COVID regulations and things like that, we're here to help.
No, thank you, Justin. And our friendly neighborhood Paychecks, thank you. So this is a virtual meeting. This is how things will work. So real quick, if you can mute your microphone if you're not speaking right now. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to make that happen. Okay, if you want to participate in the conversation, what we're going to ask you to do is use the icon and reaction and raise your hand. Actually, don't use the icon and reaction. Actually, use the raise your hand button. And you also may type your question into the comment box, And when the moderator says your name, please unmute your microphone, say your name and who you're with, and then ask your question. And then once you're finished with your question, please put your microphone on mute. The one thing that I ask is you keep your questions brief and to the point, and try not to ask more than one question at a time, and try to keep it under 30 seconds. We want to make this an inclusive environment where everybody gets the opportunity to speak. Another thing that I want to make you aware of is this is a safe environment. So we have, the individuals are coming to get information and help. This is not a time to sharpshoot or try to make them look bad. If it's not positive, please don't say it. Next slide. Without further ado, I'm going to be introducing Armchair Telethon, also known as Better Nonprofits. We have Sean Spence. So Sean Spence, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Sean Spence, CEO of Armchair Telethon. Sorry, making sure I stick to my time. Sean Spence, CEO of Armchair Telethon, the 100% online, easy for you fundraiser. Never leave your armchair. Here on this slide, I do point your attention to the bottom right-hand corner. Go to YouTube and just search for Armchair Diary. And that's not a remotely salesy thing. That is my mostly daily diary of this little adventure that I'm on. And all of us are hardcore entrepreneur people, and I think you'll love it. Next slide. Challenge question: what operational problems should we prepare for as we build a virtual company? I'm building a truly virtual company, not just I can't afford office space, so we call ourselves virtual. We are truly trying to build something that is virtual. I've got somebody who works for me in the Netherlands. I've got people in several states. We've got customers in 6 states so far. We'll be in 50 states within the next 90 days. It really is an imperative for us to get better and better at running a truly virtual company. I'd love any help you have. Next slide. Problems. Here's what we're dealing with. Nonprofits and others need money. They need to get their message out. They need less expensive alternatives. I've been involved with the nonprofit world for for almost 30 years. As a professional fundraiser, I've done every kind of fundraising you can think of. What we're about to talk about is very different. And honestly, a lot of the things I'm going to say to you in the next, time that we're together, I would not have believed 3 months ago. What we're talking about is a very high growth, fast growth business that is like nothing I've never experienced before as a serial entrepreneur. It is amazing. It's a great story. Look forward to talking to you more about it. Next slide. We are not the only solution, but we are a solution. We create virtual telethons that absolutely change the game. So what you think about is, for those of us who are old enough to remember the Jerry Lewis telethons, the Children's Miracle Network telethons, long form television events. They might be 8 hours, they might be 24 hours long, filled with entertainers, singers, comedians, magicians, jugglers, whatever. In between those performers, then they have people coming on and talking about whatever the cause is, whatever the charity is, why you should be giving to it, trying to inspire you to want to give. So a relatively tiny part of the audience that comes and sees the telethon then ends up donating. And it's the power of large numbers that makes it work. All of this is multiplied by like 1 million when it comes to the internet. And that's really where the power of this comes from. Next slide. Our primary market is nonprofit organizations. We also have some business applications that are frankly very powerful, and we're shifting a larger portion of our resources towards building those. So we can talk about that in Q&A if you want. But the bottom line is, think about the Boys and Girls Club, the food bank, whoever it is, right? Your local organizations that are looking to raise money and spread awareness. And we provide a very powerful way for them to do that, and also an extremely cost-effective way. So for example, we just did an event where they raised 27 times what it cost them to put on what amounts to a large, cool event, as I described earlier. So it is a very, very powerful thing, and I'm happy to get into more details about that. Next slide. Business model is very simple. People pay us a fee, whether it's a nonprofit or somebody else, and we do the work, and then that's it. That's pretty much it. We do have increasing virality. We have some proprietary processes that I personally have been developing over the last almost 30 years that is going to make it harder for people to compete with us, but really only relatively slightly harder, and they'll be catching up with us. And so I'm in this constant race to lead a national market, and that's what we're trying to do. And in fact, that is what we are doing. Next slide. Secret sauce, as I was just hinting at, the small first mover advantage, which gets smaller and smaller literally every day. We do not really have national competition today. We have lots and lots of local competition. So for example, we're starting to do telethons in Houston. There are a handful of people who are doing exactly what we're doing in Houston for Houston, but there's nobody really nationally who's doing it all over the country, really, except us. We do have proprietary processes that make that better. We have a national network of super connected influencers. I'm happy to talk about that because there's a good entrepreneurial thing about that that you might be interested in. An amazing team. Next slide. Competitive analysis, no real national competition. That'll change over the next 3, 6, 12 months. Within 3 to 5 years, every organization in America is going to be either doing a telethon or wanting to do a telethon. Every local event planner and probably interactive marketer and whatever is going to be doing what we do. So there will be lots and lots of competition, which is why we're trying so quickly to lead the national market, and we are succeeding at that. Next slide. Financial analysis, run rate should hit $35,000 a month this month. So by August 1st, I actually think we're going to do significantly better than that. That would represent, if it's just 35,000, that would represent a 60% increase over last month, which was just month 2. We are growing at a rate that obviously is large and is kind of freaking me out. We are building a truly virtual company, which we can talk about, and I need help with that. We should be able to fund our growth and not get investors, but there's some reasons why I'm going to get some investors, and I'm happy to talk about that in Q&A if you want. Next slide. These are some questions. If you want to read them really quickly, I'm not going to read them, that someone might ask if they understood my story and knew about me and knew about us that you might be interested in. So I just throw them up there in case somebody wants to start that conversation. Next slide. That's it. Thank you, 1 Million Cups. Sean Spence, Armchair Telethon. I love 1 Million Cups. Ask your questions. Let's talk.
Thank you
and
so
again,
much.
There it is.
No, thank you so much, Sean. That was a great presentation. I'm going to hand it over now to Myosha to start the Q&A piece. Presentation.
My favorite part.
Wonderful, Sean. That is an awesome presentation. Congratulations on your high growth. While I'm waiting for everyone to warm up to asking a whole bunch of questions, I want to start off by saying, what is your 1 to 5 year goal? I know it's a big difference.
Sure. That is interesting. You know, it is interesting. You guys are my, I got to count to make sure, but I think you're my 26th 1 Million Cups over the last 6 weeks. I've been doing a national tour. I'm a longtime 1 Million Cups person and a true believer. I've been attending since the first year. And nobody has asked me that question yet, Myosha, and I love it, and I'm glad that you did. I have not thought through that question, pardon me, in exactly that way. This thing is, I've got a tiger by the tail. And in fact, it's not a tiger by the tail. I've got like 1,000 tigers by the tail, and it's growing extremely fast. In 90 days, I will be in 50 states, right? And so we have a variety of goals that are money goals, that are fundraising goals, right? So if we raise $1 million, that's going to mean we've raised 5, 10 more $1 million for charities all over the country. And so we gauge our success not just by building a company, but by what are we contributing to the world. That's something that's very important to me. Everybody on my team, it's very important to them. I believe that by the end of the year, we will have raised in the 8 digits, the 8 figures for charity. We will be in the 7 or 8 figures for revenues for the company. Our margins are high. I believe that by the end of the year, and by the way, when I say the end of the year, I actually mean by the end of the 12 months. So that would be like May 30th. I believe we will have high double-digit employees by the end of that 12 months. By the end of 5 years, I believe we will be preparing to go public.
That sounds awesome. Really impressive.
Also crazy, Myosha. I get that, and thank you. I also get that that sounds a little nuts. We can get into more details about it, but we literally are building with that, what I just said, with that in mind, and I have the firepower in terms of people that are involved. And so we can talk about that if people want to, but I totally get that that sounds a little bit nuts and pie in the sky.
Very impressive. I have Tom Snipe, and then after Tom, I have Melinda Fields. Tom?
Well, Myosha, Tom is not a snipe. He's actually a sharp. And
Sorry.
that was the real estate agent. My question to you, Sean, is once you have a client and they do a telethon, step us through the back end side. How do we get the money to the right charity? And so go for it.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm glad it's Shipe. I used to go snipe hunting as a kid in rural Kentucky, so I much prefer Shipe. That's all pretty simple. You know, for the first one, and if somebody wants the story of how this all started, I'm happy to answer that. But for the very first one, Tom, I didn't want to have to answer the question of, is Sean really helping to raise money for a nonprofit, or is he trying to buy a new car? And I didn't want to answer that question. So what we did, and now what we always do, although this will evolve some, we send all donors directly to the website. So we don't actually we don't touch any of the money. All the donors go through the website of the Boys and Girls Club or the, you know, whatever it is that we do. So that's pretty much the way that works. To give you just a little bit more detail on the process, bottom line is, I'll use the Boys and Girls Club because we just did them 2 weeks ago. We raised roughly 27 times what they paid us. And we didn't raise it, we as a team, so they raised it. We're really just a tool. We don't actually raise a dime. I never ask anybody for money, never gonna. I'm done with that. I'm done with asking people for money. But they hired us. We then built an advisory board, which we can do anywhere through some proprietary processes that I have. So like right now, we're building advisory boards in Houston, Fort Worth, nationally, Kansas City, outside Coachella, California, and a handful of other places, right? Today we're doing that. Build the advisory board, high-powered local people who want to do good things in their community. From there, we build the entertainers and the speakers and everybody who creates the telethon. We organize all that. Of course, now, Tom, I'm working for you. You've got a charity. So you say, I want so-and-so to perform. I want so-and-so to speak. I want to have a speaking place. I want to be the MC, whatever. We just integrate all of that in. You can do whatever you want to do. At the end, we have the telethon. We stage manage the telethon, which uses a streaming platform that manages the performers and the speakers and all of that. And there's a stage manager, which right now is me, but it's not going to be much longer. I'm about to turn that over to other people. And then it streams out that whole thing, right? So it's like Tom, you and I are old enough, not to say that we're old, but you and I remember Jerry Lewis. And so it's just like the Jerry Lewis telethon, but streamed out to YouTube and Facebook and I'm blanking on it, but other places. And so then people can see it in a wide variety of places. At the end, it's done. All the money is already in your bank account, and on we go. I'm on to the next customer.
Thank you, Sean. I'm Melinda Fields.
Great presentation, Sean. When I heard everything you were talking about, I started thinking about the old Jerry Lewis telethon and how they would go on for days. And I'm on the board of directors for the Alexandria Citadel for the Salvation Army. And you guys all know that the Salvation Army, between basically the end of October, early November, and the end of December, are out there ringing the bell, and that may be a challenge this year.
Yep.
And I started to think about Jerry Lewis's telethon that goes on for 3 days, and a lot of what people know the ringing of bells, the Dallas game during the football games at during Thanksgiving. So I started thinking marathon Jerry Lewis and timeline, and where you could have this could be international actually, because they are international. They're headquartered
Yes.
in England. And I'd like to take it to my local Alexandria Citadel, who sits very closely with the national office, which is in Washington, our U.S. national office, which is in Washington, D.C., soon to be in Arlington or Alexandria. And I think it's a big idea. So my question is, how long can a telethon go on? Can it go on for days and go to lots of locations and have lots of talent and coordinate it the way Jerry Lewis had national stuff going on, and then he would go into a sequence for a local thing,
Sure.
and then back to national? Is that something that can be done?
Yeah.
Talk a little
Yes.
bit about this kind of stuff. Of what?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, it could be. Melinda, my right-hand guy, folks, this is nuts what's happening. And we've been in business for less than 3 months. I already have 2 full-time employees and several that are not part-time, or who are part-time and contract, whatever. My right-hand guy, who is full-time, grew up in the Salvation Army and then was an executive with the Salvation Army for like 20 years. This is perfect for them. And it just would be great for them. So yeah, that's the answer. This is a wonderful thing for Salvation Armies or pretty much anybody else, but that is a perfect example. And I think we'll end up doing a lot of Salvation Army work in the coming months and years.
Let's take this offline. Thank you.
Please email me. You've got my email. It's in the chat. It's on here. I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you, Sean. Next, we have Rosemary, and after Rosemary, we have Edward Williams.
Hi, good morning, Sean.
Is that my music?
It's not mine. I'm not sure who's.
Yeah. Okay. It's
There we
gone.
go. Good morning, Sean. Great presentation. Thanks for sharing your information here and for doing your own specialized kind of telethon across all the 1 million cups. Your challenge question is, what operational problems should we prepare for? As an operations professional and an operations strategist, my first question is, what kind of company are you trying to build? I heard your plans for the next several years, and that you want to be a virtual company and that you're looking to IPO at the end of a growth period, with or without an infusion of capital. Sounds like you want it for strategic reasons. All great. My question is, do you have a vision statement? What is the and you don't have to tell us, but do you have it?
Yes.
Is there a documented culture? How are you approaching it? What kind of
Yes.
people do you want? Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. And that's such a great question, Rosemary. Is it Rosemary or Rosemary?
Rosemary.
Okay, great. I was trying to get people's names right. I actually been very fortunate. Like I said, right now we've got 2 full-time employees in addition to myself. By the way, I'm paying myself a pretty decent salary. I mean, it's, again, this whole thing is freaking me out. But one of my full-time people, she honestly, the role that I brought her into the company ended up not making sense for her. But because, frankly, we're making quite a bit of money, I had the freedom to say, well, I had her in a position that turns out it didn't make as much sense. And so she had a bit of leeway to start figuring out how could she truly add value to the company. And really, that's part of the role that she's taking, is she has been leading the team, which includes me and the other full-time and everybody else who's involved, in really writing the culture statements and mission and a lot of those founding documents that I'm a big believer in, as somebody who's been doing this for a very long time. But we're able to actually, frankly, because of her and because we have some excess money right now, we're able to really focus on some of those things. It's very exciting.
So my suggestion for you would be, as you get those foundational elements in place, take time, maybe it's half a day, and really say, this is who we are, this is where we want to be in several years. Do a SWOT analysis. This is fairly standard, right? SWOT analysis. And as you do that, you'll understand you'll begin to elucidate what are the issues, both internally and externally, from that SWOT analysis based on where you want to go, that will answer this question for you. Because you'll find not just the outside problems, which is where a lot of people look, but the inside concerns that you'll need to deal with as well. So, and if you want any help with that, please let me know. I'll connect with you separately. I think what you're doing is awesome. I've spent a lot of time with nonprofits in my career, so I think what you're doing is great. Good job, Sean.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And by the way, let me just say to anybody, you've got my email now, right? It's sean@betternonprofits.com. I'm in part because of 1Million Cups and in part because of a bunch of other things. I'm connecting with a lot of people, and I may not get back to you like the same day because my life is just nuts and I'm basically working every hour I can keep my eyes open. But please reach out to me. I would love to, we're creating relationships. And if you have questions for me or contributions to make or suggestions, or tell me I'm stupid for something I said, or just whatever, I would love to hear from you.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you. Next, we have Edward Williams, and after Edward, we have Daniel, and after Daniel, we have Talmar. Edward Williams. Okay, I will circle back to Edward. Let's go with Danielle.
Hey, Sean, great presentation. I'm into lots of different new technologies like interactive video, but I was thinking in particular about virtual reality that we work in, where we literally could have different buildings and different rooms and literally different events and things that people could do inside a fundraiser. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be VR where people wear headsets. It could also be just 2D on a regular mobile or computer screen. But you could have literally different rooms that you go inside of that also have computers there and screens that people could do presentations. There's even an auditorium. And for recreational thing, there's a beach, and there's even a speedboat people could drive, and there's a stage where people could perform music. I was just thinking this could be add a rather interesting twist to your efforts, because it would be very unique and something that no one else is doing.
I agree. I love that. Thank you.
So maybe we should connect offline, and
Please.
Also. Yeah, and I guess that's probably enough said. So yeah, let's just connect offline. We'll talk further about it all.
Please, I will say though, Daniel, that's a perfect example of why I do 1Million Cups, because you did just say a couple of things that I really had not thought about in that way. And what I found, and again, this is either 26 or 27 in the last 6 weeks or so. I literally have done 5 in a single day on a single Wednesday because of the time zones, and that you just said some things that I hadn't thought about in that way that I think could be very beneficial. So that's why I do 1Million Cups. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. Next, we have Talmar, and after Talmar, we have Tony Barnett.
Hey, Sean, great presentation. Thanks so much for being here. Very excited about what you're doing. I think it's exactly where you need to be. I can see why it's blowing up, and I see why you're excited because the potential is just phenomenal. So very specifically, I happen to be the one area that I'm most concerned about for you operationally. I'm a hiring strategist. I literally teach people how to create their organizational structure and hire. So my 2 cents to your operational question are, I would set a really strong idea of how you plan to communicate with your team that is global. Of all the complications that companies that are building remotely and virtually have, it's that they have an idea of going global, but they haven't addressed when hiring or onboarding, how everyone's going to get together and communicate in a timely manner. So you need a communications plan for your internal processes very quickly if you're trying to hire globally, which you mentioned you were. The second thing is, I would love for you to really start to get strategic about your hiring so that you, 1, don't get caught in what I call a hiring loop, and 2, are thinking about how your company will best benefit. If you are cash forward right now, that's fantastic. And the best place to spend that money is hiring the right people. You just have to make sure you know how to identify and use a really strong hiring process so you have who the right people are. But that's my 2 cents on where operationally that will set your company up for success. If you have the right people around you, literally the world is your oyster. And so if you have more questions, let me know. I also will put my information in the chat, but I'm really excited about what you're doing.
I appreciate that. I love what you just said, so thank you. I'm double checking the attendees. Okay, I can tell you a story because there's not somebody here that will cause me a problem. Speaking of hiring and getting the right people around you and all of that, I just thought people might be interested. I've already had to have my first major change. It's not been 3 months yet. But I forget who it was, but it's how do you get the right people on the bus and how do you get the wrong people off the bus? And there's all that. And I've already had the first situation where I went into thinking I was about to have to fire somebody and, or at least reposition them. I had an old boss of mine who said, I've never fired anybody. I just reposition them and find them another role in the organization. Occasionally I've had to take the manager and make them the janitor, but everybody has a role, right? And in this case, I had somebody who is brilliant and wonderful, and I love this person, and they have so much they can contribute, but where they were just was not making sense, and we were quickly discovering that, and it was becoming a real time suck.
Yeah.
And yeah, just total time suck. And,
well, we'll connect offline because I don't want to take more of your time, Sean, but I would love to hear more about that. And I definitely have ways that I could help you. But of all the things I want to really push for your operational question right here, it is spend time and energy getting the right people around you, but you need to learn how to identify what that's going to look like to the success of your company.
Yeah, and in that case we did. So to finish my story, we had to have a thing where I went into a phone call thinking that I was about to fire this person. And, I won't make you raise your hand, but I bet almost everybody here has had to fire somebody, and it is not a good process, no matter how much it's the right thing for everybody involved. And in this case, we had, basically, I just let them start, right? And they talked for literally 40 minutes, where I listened for 40 minutes and literally said one syllable during that 40 minutes. I said yes. And then at the end of the 40 minutes, I said, it sounds like you need some things that we cannot provide at this time.
Good one.
I think you're awesome. We couldn't do that for anybody. And it sounds like the best thing for you would be for you to take a step away from this, and maybe there are other things that we can talk about you doing. And we were able to make a change very quickly. Nobody's feelings were hurt. That person is now contributing in some very important ways in the organization. And it was just a great little sidestep that made me, instead of extremely unhappy, nobody was unhappy, everybody was happy, life is great.
Thank you very much, Thelma. Thank you, Sean. Tony?
Okay, Sean. So when I was going over your slide deck earlier this week, I was trying to debate what would be the right, what's the right issue to discuss. And one of the things that you mentioned right in the very beginning is the explosive growth that you've discovered and the demand for the services. One of the biggest problems a company has is when they have sudden rapid growth. And I'm experiencing this from the government contracting world, where a company can be barely making by for years, and all of a sudden they land 3 contracts all at once. And within a matter of weeks to a couple of months, they have to scale up to be compliant to the contracts, and they are scrambling. I didn't hear you mention that you have someone who is a scalability expert or someone who is experienced in managing, scaling up or down in situations. That's a role that you might want to seriously look for. And to Talmar's point, having the right person, it's one thing to hire people to fill the need for filled spots, but you personally, or even someone who's co-leading with you, could become easily overwhelmed with all the little things that you don't see that slip by. And those little things end up becoming a pile of straw on top of the camel that breaks the back. And if you have someone who you bring in who operationally can sit there and watch and catch those little things that you don't have to worry about and miss, makes things a lot more stable and can help you. They may be, in a leadership role, they may be in an operational role. Usually someone who's in an accounting background, who has experience with staffing, that's a good person to have. And I think Talmor and maybe some others may have some better ideas and opinions on it, but having a scalability expert, I think, is critical for you, especially with how quickly you're growing, because of the fact that that scalability expert might be able to negotiate other things that you don't think about with other vendors or partners or whatever. And you don't get trapped or even stuck in a position where now you're fundamentally having to sit there and look, do I shut this down? Do I sell it? What do we do? Because now it's gotten so big so quick, it's imploding on itself.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think you're right. Honestly, I hadn't even thought about a scalability expert. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. And we have about 6 questions in the pipeline. I'm going to go with Ken next. And after Ken, I'll read out Edward Williams' questions to you.
Hi, Sean. I'm reminded of a story. I'll tell it quickly. About a little over 15 years ago, I was associated with a program that ran nationwide called the AIDS Ride. It was a volunteer program to support the community that was suffering from the AIDS epidemic. Local charities around the country hired a company to organize the AIDS rides. And they ran for a period of about 7 years. They were highly successful for the organizer, highly successful for all of the charities nationwide. The organizer was organized as a for-profit business, and it turned out they were making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
And when that hit the streets, the program was done.
Yep.
And so as you make money hand over fist, pay yourself a generous salary. I just wanted to raise that lesson learned from a decade and a half ago with the AIDS Ride program. You did offer to take a moment and explain the applicability of your program outside of the nonprofit universe. Would you take a moment and talk about that and what your offering looks like in the commercial sphere and how businesses might apply it appropriately?
Sure, I would, absolutely. One, just to address the first thing, I'm a nonprofit guy. I've come up in the nonprofit world since college, and we do work very hard to be extremely transparent, with everything we do, our finances, our fees, everything. We are following the best practices of the nonprofit world, not just the for-profit world. And our percentage of what we cost related to what is raised is dramatically less than anything I've ever seen in the nonprofit world. So I'm feeling really good about that. In terms of the business world, it isn't so much that Ken's company could hire us. I don't see a ton of ways that that's going to end up making sense for us. But what an example is we are doing the very first pilot program. It's going extremely well. We're about to take it totally national. We're going to be in 50 states within 90 days doing this. We're doing the Save Our Downtown or Support Our Downtown or whatever telethon. That what occurred to me, Ken, is the vast majority of the money that we deal with, right? That whether it's going through us or beside us or whatever it is, the vast majority of the money that is related to us does not go to us, right? It goes to a nonprofit. So we don't really care from a business perspective. We don't care where that money goes. Now, from a human perspective and from my position and my view of the world perspective, I want to make sure it's going someplace where it's needed. I want it to be making the world a better place. I want it to have a benefactor kind of mission. I don't want it to go to IBM, right, or Apple, or some big company, or your pocket, or whatever. So even if I had a way to help you, Ken, for example, put a ton of money in your pocket, I'm not going to do that. But maybe you've got a way to help the world, and we could talk about that. So, but once I figured that out, I thought, well, one of the groups that needs a lot of money is small businesses that are struggling. And it actually started with restaurants that are struggling incredibly hard. And so bottom line is we figured out this Save Our Downtown thing, and through some other things, going into some details that we probably don't want to go into right now, although it's pretty easy and I could send you something or talk to you about it more offline. Bottom line is we figured out a way to get money directly to the businesses. And so we're working with downtown business associations, like we're doing a small downtown business association in Kentucky. And then we're launching our own events all over the country where the money is going directly to the struggling small local businesses and trying to help them survive and help them thrive and helping market them and all of that. So that's going to be a really cool, amazing application of what we do.
Thank you, Sean. I'm going to read out Edward's question to you. Who are your competitors in your space and what makes you different from your competition?
Sure. There is essentially no national competition. Now, there is a little bit. There are people who consider themselves competitors. And of course, there's certainly the choice of do we do this or do we hire Armchair Telethon? And so there's competition in that way. Do we do a big fundraising event or do we do a virtual so there's that kind of competition. But there really is nobody right now, or at least nobody's making a big enough splash that me or any of my people can find them. There's nobody who's based in one place and then trying to build a national company and doing these events, these telethons, other places in the country, which is a very hard thing to do, right? Everybody in this room is smart enough that if you wanted to do a telethon in Fairfax County, everybody in this room could figure out how to do it. You'd go get Donnell, you'd go get somebody else who is smart about these things, and you would figure it out and you could raise money for your organization, right? But if I said, you're in Fairfax County, I want you to do one in Santa Cruz, California. I want you to do it in 6 weeks. I want you to do it and raise a ton of money for them and a ton of awareness at a cost-effective price and where you make a significant profit. It would be very difficult for you to do that. And in fact, I would argue that probably nobody in this room could do that. But if you think about it for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you could figure it out and eventually you'd be able to do it, right? Because you're smart. Nobody's doing that. That is what we do. That is what sets us apart. Now, our customers don't care about that. What they care about is that we're really good, that we offer some things that are value added, and there are a variety of those things. Our real competitors at this point are people who are local. So if we wanted to do something in Fairfax County, if you're able to find somebody who does what we do, and you might be able to find somebody, but in 3 months, 6 months, a year, I promise you'll be able to find somebody, right? So that is who our growing competition is, the local event planners, marketing firms that decide to do this, whatever it is, and there will be a lot of competition. And that's the reason that we're doing such the big push to grow so fast, because we do have true market leadership right now in a way that does not matter at all because the market is not developed yet. Nobody's really super competing yet. But in 6 months, it is going to matter. And we want to make sure we've still got leadership in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. We want to be so big that we can provide great service, continue to do what we do, and continue to grow.
Thank you, Sean. Daniel, I appreciate your patience. You're next, and after Daniel, I have Ashley. Okay, I will come back to Daniel. Let's go with Ashley. Ashley Schuler. Okay, I'll come back to them, and then we'll go with Devin Smith.
Hello, good morning. I just wanted to ask a quick question. Great presentation. Just go to my questions here. I just want to understand a little bit more about how this work exactly. What stops the nonprofit from doing this themselves, and how do you build that audience?
Sure. There is nothing that stops a nonprofit from doing it themselves. They could. There is nothing that they could not figure out if they really, really, really tried. And if they put in the effort to figure it out, if they got a really smart volunteer to help them figure it out. But it would just take figuring out. And they would have to answer questions that it would take them a while to get the answers to, whereas they can come to us and it's basically a turnkey solution that is well within the appropriate fundraising margins, and in fact, dramatically less than pretty much any other fundraising solution that they could have. They can easily then have somebody who's already building a great track record, who can do something very easy for them, that does not take them away from doing other things because they're already super busy. So that's it, but there's nothing that stops them from doing it. I just know how to do it, and it's easier to hire us, and the odds that they're going to be successful are dramatically more because they can look at our track record, which so far is perfect. Now, it's not going to be perfect forever, but I think there's really no reason at all why it's not going to be awesome forever. And if I missed part of that question, please let me know.
So yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand the value proposition you bring to the nonprofit.
Sure. We help them raise a lot of money. We help them have lots of community awareness for a very cost-effective price. That's a pretty high value for anybody in the nonprofit world. And there's not a single nonprofit person who does not immediately get that. It is not a want to have. It's not a nice to have. It is a gotta have, and gotta have it now. And almost everybody that we talk to hires us.
Awesome, Sean. Thank you. I believe Melinda has another question.
Yeah, it's a quick one. I was starting to think about, I'm just looking for my question. There were questions after me. Hold on one second, because I just typed it. And I was already, I take notes while I'm listening. Can't find my, oh, there it is. My other question is all your talent free, or do you go to big names and pay for big names? And the reason why I'm asking that is there may be another, I assume when you start as your company, you're gonna have folks that are working on the telethons and working on getting the talent for the telethons. And there are a lot of talent agencies that you can go to that you may be able to get some big names, and you may be able to get them for free, but you may have to pay a little bit for them to get them to do something. And just, again, I'm thinking about Jerry Lewis and how he did a lot of things. And I guess he got, because he was a star, he was able to get a lot of the talent for free. But I also think about the Salvation Army, and we've brought in talent and we've paid talent to put on performances.
Okay, yeah, just waiting for the question to be over. Yes, we can. We do not pay talent. Part of the beauty of this whole thing, and someday maybe we will, but I really don't think so. So, for example, we're getting ready to do a veterans charity in a couple of months, and it's almost definite that Gary Sinise, the actor, is going to appear in the telethon. Why is Gary Sinise doing that? He's never been to the city where it is. He's never gonna be to the city where it is. He has no desire, but he really, really cares about the charity. We have a couple of connections to him. And for him to be in it, he can be in his living room. He doesn't have to go anywhere. It's 10 minutes of his life, sitting in his living room, wearing his underwear if he wants to. It's an easy peasy thing for him to do. And that's exactly the situation for all of our entertainers. But why do our entertainers do it? One, hopefully it's because they're supporting a great cause. Two, it's because many of our entertainers are really great local entertainers, and we're giving them a bigger audience than they've ever had in like their lives, or one of the biggest audiences they've ever had. Three, it's super duper easy. It's 10 minutes out of their lives. And again, they could be sitting on their couch in their underwear. So it's just no big deal for them. And, it's lots of great exposure. So yeah, we have not had to pay for anything yet. And also, if we have trouble filling a spot, we're very quickly building a national group of artists, and we could bring in somebody from some other place in the country.
Super, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Now we have the final question from Mr. Donald Johns. Mr. Donald, what is your final question?
Sean, amazing presentation. Thank you for everything that you do to support nonprofits. That is a business in itself. But my question to you is, what can 1 Million Cups as a community do for you?
Yeah, if you've got a nonprofit friend who needs to make money and build awareness in the community, please introduce us. It'll be helping me. It will be helping them. I mean, so far, everybody who works with us is very happy. I don't see any reason why they won't be in the future. Also, I love to have these entrepreneurial conversations, and it makes me better. And also, I just like it. It's just fun. And so if you want to interact with me, email me at sean@betternonprofits.com, or find me on Facebook or whatever, and I'll do my best to respond as quickly as humanly possible. And sometimes that's super quick and sometimes it's not, but I love it. Keep supporting 1 Million Cups. I'm a true blue 1 Million Cups guy. And so supporting that is supporting the whole ecosystem, and that supports us all.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming through. In your treks around the world on 1 Million Cups virtually, please come back and be on the other side of the conversation and help those individuals that come out and present. But again, thank you so much for your time and what you do. If we were in person, I'd give you a 1 Million Cups mug, but right now I'm gonna give you a 1 Million Cups high five.
High five. All right, well, I'm off to go do 1 Million Cups in Hammond, Indiana.
Wow. Well, change your background to make it look like you're in Indiana next time. No, I'm just messing with you. But have a great day.
Thank you all very much.
Let's give him a hand.
Thank you, Sean.
Take care.
All right. So next week on July 22nd, we have Tiki from the Euphoric Palace. She is a veteran entrepreneur, and she does all natural handmade bath bombs. So please come out and support Tiki next week. It is going to be, if you met Tiki, you know that this is going to be a great presentation. So after that, we have Days of Girls Northern, the Virginia chapter. I believe that's Phyllis, correct? So please support Phyllis the week after. And then we have, in August, we have GTP. And then the 12th, we have Got It Life. And so we have 2 vacancies in August and also vacancies in September. If you're on this call and you have never presented before, or if you presented before and it's been at least 6 months, please put your application back in. We would love to have you. You put your information on our website at the number 1millioncups.com/Fairfax, and then register to present there. But we would love to have you. There's a lot of names. I'm not going to read your names off that haven't presented at this 1 Million Cups, but please do. Next slide. So here's our time.
Lead Russ in.
Yes. Here's a time where we allow Russ to speak for a half an hour. No, I'm just playing. We allow Russ to speak about the events, but if you have an event that's coming up, please, now is the time to tell us. If you could raise your hands in the side and we'll pick you.
Actually, the Chambers has a lot of virtual stuff going on, but there's nothing prominent or nothing in your face that I wanted to promote this week. But there's always something. Just go to cfcc.org.
Thank you, Russ. Rosemary?
Well, today is Wednesday, so I have my Wednesday webinar. I will post the link to register. For those of you who haven't used Gravitate and want to learn how it works and why our friends here at 1 Million Cups love us, please join. It's free and only half an hour. Thanks.
No, thank you, Rosemary. Without Gravitate, it would be hard for us to communicate. If you guys knew what was going on behind the scenes, you guys would think we were crazy. But with Gravitate, we're able to communicate with each other in a moment's notice and make this event look seamless. So thank you very much to Gravitate and Rosemary for powering the 1 Million Cups Network.
So I have one quickie to update to. Everybody knows that I help support and help organize the annual B2G trade show through the Reston Chamber each year. They have just announced that they will be doing it as a virtual event next month on the 27th. And if you're interested in being a sponsor and being getting the attitude of hundreds of small government contractors, go to the Reston Chamber website and go ahead and fill out the form, and Ashley there at the Chamber will get in touch with you. If you know a business who needs to, you can be connected to some of the big primes or the agencies, let them know. And if you also know of a government contractor that needs to have partners, point them to the Chamber, and that way they can be a presenter or and a matchmaker for the event. So that's me.
Thank you, Tony.